to the channel. My name is Sarah. If you're new to the channel, I post pretty regularly, pretty much every week. And so today, I'm actually at home, or I'm not in my house, but it's Christmas, it's winter break, and so I am not on campus, as you probably can't tell actually based on the background. But so what I wanted to talk about today was the whole idea of going home and homesickness, especially in college. So I want to preface this by saying that this is my second time coming home after moving to college, and it actually feels very, very different from the first time. And I would just say that there are a lot of things that hit me about the whole dynamic of going home and homesickness and all of that were not what I expected going into college. And it really I was so surprised about what I was feeling, and watching what other people were feeling, and I never could have really imagined this, and I think it's something that's really interesting to talk about. I'm just gonna jump right in and saying that I moved across the country for college, and I grew up very close to my parents, so I've always been really close to my parents. I do a lot with my parents, I hang out with my parents a lot, and I would say that overall I just have a very close connection with my parents. And so during the college application process, I was actually very much I want to get out of the state, I want to go far away, and not because I had anything wrong with my parents or anything wrong with home, by no means was it about escaping, but it was just that, I really want a new experience for myself. I want to know what it's like to live in a completely different place. And so during my college applications process, I was applying to places very far away, and proximity was more of a negative thing than anything when I was factoring in what schools I wanted to go to. And so college came around, I got into MIT, I knew that I wanted to go to MIT, and then all of a sudden, the school year was ending, senior year was ending, and I saw all of my friends who were going, so many of my friends who were staying in-state, who were going to an in-state college. And a lot of them weren't even leaving the city. So they were staying in the city, their lives really weren't changing too much, and the biggest thing was they had each other, they didn't have to move, and I got so jealous. I was like, you don't have to start over your life, you get to be with your family. I was so jealous. All of a sudden, the biggest thing I wanted was to just stay, to not leave home. And I recognized that was a big part of that, is just it's hard to step out of your comfort zone, right? But it's for the better. So it's probably for the, and I do think it's for the better that I did move far away, because I really did learn that independence, and it was good for me in the end. But yeah, so I moved to college and had a really hard time adjusting. I know a lot of the people who were around me in college, especially during those first few weeks, knew that I felt really homesick, and I just did not want this new campus, this new dorm to be my home. I didn't even want to unpack my stuff, because I felt like unpacking my stuff was me accepting this place as my new home, and I was absolutely not. So I was really bad about homesickness. I just kept wanting to go home a lot. It got better as time passed, because you get used to your dorm as being real life, and you don't forget, but part of you kind of just you think about your life before college. You think about it less and less, to the point that you just kind of accept that, oh, this is my life now, so you don't really feel homesick. I don't know if that makes sense. But I still really wanted to go home, and so the first time I finally went home was Thanksgiving break, and words can't even describe how happy I was about going home. I was just so excited, to the point that especially the days leading up to going home, or even the week, I would think about going home, and I would literally start tearing up, because I was so excited to be home. And I think that a big part of wanting to go home is just you miss your family, you miss your life, but also it's really nice to get away from college sometimes, just because it can get really stressful. And I think especially one of the things about MIT is that there's this thing the MIT bubble, where I think I've talked about this in other videos as well, but just you eat, live, sleep, everything on the same campus. Your life is really bounded by the campus, and so it's just really refreshing to get off of it sometimes. So yeah, I was so excited to go home, and I went home, and everything felt so normal. It felt like I had never even left for college. It was did college even happen? This is just the same life I had when I was here a couple months ago. And it was like, it felt so normal to be at home. Like, it didn't feel like time had passed. And even like with my friends, like, we hung out and we talked as if we had in high school. It was like, it felt the exact same, nothing felt different, and it was a really weird feeling that I wasn't really expecting. And so it wasn't, so like while I was at home, it wasn't like constantly like, oh my god, like this is the best time of my life. It's like, this is what my normal life feels like. And that actually messed with my mind a little bit, because it was like, all of a sudden I had these two completely separate lives, like my college life and my home life, and they both feel normal. They both feel like my normal everyday life, even though there's two of them and they're completely separate. So that was really weird for me. And then going back to school was really hard, because I think going home is easy, but going back to school is hard because you don't want to go, you don't want to leave home, and it's sad. But what I will say, but the biggest thing, so then the second time I went home, which was right now, I was definitely a lot more used to like the transition between like your two worlds gets easier every time you do it. And I think the biggest thing for me was when I was entering college, one of the biggest things, and like when I was a big part of the homesickness, was that I was recognizing that I felt like my life with my parents was like officially splitting. Even though I would see them, they would still be my parents. Like, it felt like our lives were like had officially parted and were diverging for good, right? And because like from there on, like, you're gonna live alone, like you're never gonna live at home again. And so that was one of the biggest things that made me really sad to think about. But I think a big part of it was that as I went through college, as I continued to rely on them, and as I kept talking, I would always talk to them, keep them pretty updated with my life, tell them what I'm doing every day. And because of that, I think that the idea that no matter what, no matter the distance, like, my parents would still be my parents, and yeah, there's a physical distance between us, but our relationship didn't have to be any less close. I think that idea was really what made the transition so much easier. And I think it's like something that my friends would like tell me about too, is like, your parents are never going to stop being your parents. And I think that's such an important message and such an important thing to keep in mind. But yeah, anyways, what else? Okay, so the second time I came home, which is right now, it was a lot easier to transition, and I think I'm able to, I knew much more like what to expect, and it was like nice. And yeah, so another thing that like really surprised me, one thing that really surprised me was homesickness is so prevalent for college students. And like, I don't think parents or even the rest of the world can understand how excited kids get to go home. Like, the entire week before breaks, everyone's just like, oh my god, I'm so excited to go home. I can't wait to go home. Like, oh my god, home is so great. Like, oh, why do we have to come back so soon? Like, everybody feels that way. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that literally everybody gets so excited to go home. Everyone's so ready to go home. And like, yeah, part of it's like just like escaping or like taking a break from college, but also just like everyone loves being home, and like that's never gonna change. And I think that's like one of the most beautiful things ever, is that no matter how much we grow, or like no matter how different people are, like we all share this idea of like how much we value home and we value our families. And I think that's really beautiful, and it's not something I actually expected. And I think that maybe it's just my parents, but I feel like my parents felt like, oh, like college is amazing, like you probably just want to hang out with your friends all day, but like there's still something really like magical about being home and like being with your family and being at home. So yeah, but yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I just wanted to, I guess, like share the feelings that I've gone through and what it's like to move out. It's like a really scary thing for sure, and it can really blindside you in terms of like how you end up feeling. And yeah, so it's good. I'm really happy to be home, and yeah, that's it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for listening to me ramble again, and I'll see you soon.